Hi, I am Life Coach Patricia Booker with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered, where we heal, we get delivered, and we get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose. That is the truth of who God created us to be. So, first, I want to say thank you all for viewing my videos. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you to all those who donate to my channel. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And so, in today's video, I want to talk to you about your spiritual health is your wealth. And if you will, your spiritual health is your spiritual wealth. And so, what I mean by that is when you are seeking to be wealthy, or if God has declared you as wealthy, told you that you are wealthy, what is contingent upon you being wealthy as God has declared you to be so is your spiritual health, which means you have to be spiritually healthy. Put it like this. I've learned this whole, concept or way of doing throughout my own personal life of getting myself spiritually where God needed me to be or where I needed to be, evolving, growing, being in a place, in a position where I would be ready and be in a place where I can handle and even receive and or manifest the wealth that God has already declared as mine. And so that took me doing a lot of work, a lot of spiritual work. I can remember years ago as a child having the feeling and the knowing that I would have a lot of money and that like money, like wealth. I remember having the feeling of it and the inner knowing of it and feeling that I would be very successful. Yet over time and over the years, I had to learn a lot of things. I had a lot of error that needed to be corrected. And although I'm still doing the work, I'm way further along than where I was. And of course, I still have some ways to go. But I notice and am very aware of the process that I've had to go through and the changes that have taken place within me. Not only to receive the wealth that God has for me or that is rightfully mine, but just to get me in a place spiritually that God has purpose for me, for the work that He has for me to do, for Him, that is. So, when you feed yourself spiritually, when you build yourself spiritually, whatever that means for you, I encourage any and everyone always to receive Jesus Christ, to make Jesus Christ their Lord and eat of Him, dwell with Him, learn of Him. I encourage anyone to study the scriptures, to eat the word, of God. I encourage that. I also encourage whatever else God leads you to, whatever else that is. And it's always different for everyone. God does not move in all of us the same way. He does not lead us into all the same things because guess what? God has a different purpose for all of us. So we're not all going to look exactly the same, even though many of us are going to look similar to each other because that's how we kind of know our soul tribe, like-minded people that are more like us, our family, spiritual family that is. Yet, the thing is, we're all gonna be on different missions, different purpose. Even if we accommodate one another or we're an assistant to one another. I mean, it's like the body, even the universe. Everything plays its part. Every part of our body plays its part. And if everybody just be what they were designed to be, we can get the job done. So, I'm saying that to say, whatever it is that your spiritual work is, the inner work you need to do, whatever that is for you, whatever your soul is moving you to do, what God is leading you to do, however He leads you to feed yourself spiritually, so that He can elevate you spiritually, cause you to rise more and more into your higher self, into your God self, taking you from higher heights and from glory to glory. When you enter the kingdom of God, which is within, because that's where God is. He's there, He's out there, He's in the heavens, He's within you. When you feed that part of yourself, that's how you ultimately get the wealth, the spiritual wealth that God has for you. I emphasize spiritual wealth because there is a such thing as worldly wealth. When you go and get it your own way, the world's way, in your own flesh, on your own, when you make yourself your own God, even though we are little gods when we know who we are in God, but we still acknowledge God as our God. And the reason why we are who He are, because great is He that is in us. He's the great that's in us. So when we lean on that and we feed that spiritual part of ourselves spiritually, that is, that's how we get our wealth, which is spiritual wealth. In other words, there are prerequisites to getting that spiritual wealth that God has promised you. Those visions and those dreams and all those things He put in you, there's a process getting there. I don't not anybody, as they say, getting their money, getting their bag, and being a boss. I'm all about that life. However, I encourage you to be a spiritual boss, to feed your spiritual self, so you can receive your spiritual wealth, and you could be getting that spiritual money bag. In other words, do things God's way. Do things His way. Let Him lead you to your spiritual wealth, your spiritual health, which means your spirit man has to be healthy. Your spiritual man has to be clean. Your spiritual or inner man has to be at optimal functionality, if that's a word. I think you get what I'm saying. You have to nurture that part of you. See, if you nurture your spirit more than your flesh, then your spirit man is going to grow stronger. And so it's going to lead you into your spiritual wealth. If you feed your flesh more, your flesh gets stronger. That's what we see out here going on a lot of times. People just caught up all. Anyway, I ain't going to go into that. You feed your flesh more, your flesh gets stronger. But the problem with that is you on your own. If God is not with you, you on your own. And I'm not saying it to say God can't be with you. But if you out here on your own, not acknowledging God, feeding your spiritual self, If you're not doing those things, then you're kind of feeding your flesh. So the point that I'm making is the way to your wealth, your spiritual wealth, the wealth that God has designed for you, the wealth that God has declared is yours, the promised land, the land flowing with the milk and honey, is for you to tune into your spiritual man and feed that. However God leads you to do so. You know, a few things, reading the Bible or any other spiritual material, and not just reading it, but taking it in. You know what I'm saying? Allowing God to give you those downloads, to speak to you, to show you some things. Implement what you're learning. How God, as far as how God is leading you to make the proper adjustments within yourself. Most times, well, all the time really, when you're open and you're yielding yourself to God to do the work in you, those things start to automatically take place within you. And it's not always something you really have to do. You just have to be an open vessel for God to do the work. And I'm saying an open vessel for God to do the work. I'm not saying be an open vessel for any and everything to work on you. Because people be trying to work on you too with their ill intentions. But that's a whole nother subject. Let me stay focused. When you are open to allowing God to do the spiritual work that needs to be done in you, everything just transforms in you. It's almost like the work is just done for you. You can make a decision that you're going to do something or change something, or, oh, this is, enough of this. And a shift and a transformation happen like that just on a decision. How do I know? I've done it several times. Now, that doesn't mean there haven't been times where I had to put in some work, and that's on purpose too, because we have to be able to sustain some things and be patient and allow a transformation to take place. In other words, sometimes we have to deny our flesh or deny what we once knew, or deny a pattern or a behavior or something that's happening in us that has kind of somewhat become a part of us, whether it be because of our experiences, some trauma we experienced, obviously usually it comes from something we've gone through that caused you to be that way. But sometimes God allows you to endure it because He wants you to be a part of that transformation taking place. Because you have to be able to endure some things. Because in this life, we have to be able to endure and overcome. Not just endure and just take some stuff laying down, but to be able to endure for transformation to take place. So what's happening in those instances is that while you are enduring and you are adamant about having that change, that transformation take place, it's actually happening in you. But you might just have to press and just hang in there and just keep the faith and know what you know and demand and declare that change, that transformation. And a lot of times I want to say that transformation is going to happen. Or what I really want to say, when you're going through that, the transformation is happening. So I'm saying all that to say it's not always just happens automatically, although it can. Even when that's so, you're also going to have to do the work yourself. You're going to have to say no to some things. You're going to have to, because you're building your spiritual man, which is causing you to be spiritually healthy. And so what happens is, because you're doing your part, God is going to do His part. It's kind of like when how they say, I want to say God will help those who help themselves. I won't say scripture say that, because if it did, it doesn't say it in those ways. I haven't come across that. However, I know that to be so. that when you do what you need to do and you're really making a sincere effort to make those changes within yourself, God will just do some things for you. You know, even though, again, sometimes you have to push. Sometimes you got to push through some stuff. But you have to be determined to get over that hump. Don't you know the people that do great things go through things like that? How they say anything great is not, wait a minute. Anything great, I don't know. Anyway, when you're doing something of a higher level, so to speak, there's sometimes going to be some pressure, some intensity, some things that you have to get over. And many a times it's within yourself. The changes and the transformation really take place within yourself. And of course, your outer world transforms as you transform on the inside. So again, your spiritual health is your spiritual wealth, is your wealth, which is spiritual wealth. So we have to be careful of, again, like I said, not feeding the flesh more. And when I say more, I'm saying that to say sometimes we do, we're human. So we do fleshly things. But we have to be careful of what fleshly things we're doing. We have to make sure that they're more positive, more productive. And usually when they're more positive and productive, and if you're on your spiritual theme, doing what you need to do for yourself spiritually, it becomes, those fleshly things become spiritual. You know, I've learned over time that the issues that I've had and still I'm working through, because I feed my spirit man so much, whatever issues, internal issues I've had, because of what I do with myself spiritually, and I tap into God like that, more and more, how can I say it? It like the flesh stuff, whatever issues, literally like don't have no bearing, because my spirit man is so strong that whatever is lingering really is not strong enough to overtake me. It's kind of like a drug addict. I use that as an example. A drug addict who just is gone. And I'm not knocking drug addicts because I understand these things, but I'm making a point. When a drug addict just can't get out of that addiction, many a times it's because they're not feeding their spiritual man. Now, I've seen drug addicts. I've actually been one that was spiritual. It's spiritual. And they might do what they do, but it can't overtake them because they feed themselves spiritually. Their spirit man is so strong. And the more you, again, nurture your spirit man and, do what you need to do to build it up and grow stronger spiritually, it eventually kills whatever the issue was. In other words, you do this thing right, you won't continue to be a drug addict. And people will look at you like, how she do that there? But that's how. You feed your spirit man. And your spirit man again can be so strong, healthy, spiritually healthy, that it can wipe away anything that's a problem within your even within your spirit. Within your spirit, within your flesh, whatever. Because if you're having some whatever internal issues and you're feeding and nurturing your spiritual man, you're getting strong spiritually, it's going to take over any issues you have spiritually. Because you're making it stronger. You're feeding it the right stuff. So, The same thing with wealth. You continue to feed your spiritual man the right things as you are working to manifest your wealth. You're going to manifest your wealth because your spirit man becomes so strong and it gets to a place of where it's just automatically manifesting it, or when you're ready to manifest on site, when you're ready, because now you know who you are. And now you may even be doing some things different because you realize it ain't all about just manifesting wealth. Because sometimes God tell you, hold on a minute, let me show you some things because I need to show you what we doing with this wealth, what it's all for. And sometimes He got to chill you out because too many people on your tail recognizing you're walking into your wealth. So now you got to slow down a minute and you got to make a plan because now you got to move a little different. You know what I'm saying? Let some people go, move around some people, all kind of stuff. Go off the grid, hide out, because your money ain't about them. But they might have gotten a whiff. And sometimes it's just from things like this. I'm on here talking about it. But at the same time, you know, I'm just saying. I'm still going to talk about it right here as God lead me to. I'm making a point. Take note, take note, take note, take note. Your spiritual health is your wealth. Your spiritual health is your spiritual wealth. So feed that spirit man. Get it stronger. And God will lead you right into it. God will show you how to manifest. Just like that. You become a master manifester and you chilling. You holding on before you manifest your stuff. Matter of fact, it's already manifested. You just chilling, put some things in place. Chilling, laying low a little bit. Working on some stuff. I'm just saying. Take note, take note, take note, take note. Your spiritual health is your wealth. Your spiritual health is your spiritual wealth. Sometimes God will slow you down and say, I need you to study this. I need you to get this. I need you to get this because I need you to do this. Because when your wealth is rolling in, it has an assignment. There's an assignment on your wealth. It ain't just to be filling your pockets fat and just splurge. And even though you can do that, it has a purpose. Your wealth has a purpose. And so, the more you get spiritually healthy, the more you will begin to get spiritually wealthy. That God has promised you. You see? So, again, make sure you're feeding your spirit man. We got to be careful that we are more operating in the 5D, which is the fifth dimension, the spiritual realm, than indulging in this 3D. Yes, we have to live in a 3D, but we have to know who we are in a 5D and operate in that. In other words, operating in a spirit. He said to live by the spirit, not by your flesh. God even saying it's not by power nor by might, but it's by His spirit, which means you can put all your power and your might into it, your flesh, and there's not nothing wrong with having a strong will and really going in and doing, but it's by His spirit. And when you're not doing it by His spirit, or let His spirit be, in other words, being spiritually healthy, because of course it's His spirit in you, but it's really Him doing it. But you have to be spiritually healthy for that to happen. And so, again, being mindful of operating in a 5D, even though you're in this 3D realm, in this world, but not of this world. We're in this world, in the 3D, but we ain't of the 3D. We have the 5D and higher. Because the higher we go, from higher heights to glory, from glory to glory. 5D, 6D, 7D, 8. Yeah, it just keeps heavenly realms. Those are the heavenly realms. So you have to operate in the heavenly realms while having balance here in the earthly realm. 3D, 5D, and higher. Being in this world, but not of this world. Being spiritually healthy, therefore spiritually wealthy. I'm hoping this is making sense. So yeah, get that spirit man right. You know, I just want to just mention, because I've been seeing a lot of this, so it's running rampant. You know, people operating in the flesh, you know, and I'm not saying this to talk down on anyone. I'm just making a point to, let me make the point. Operating in the flesh in greed, fear, control, manipulation, even despair, insecurity. Because a lot of times when people are manipulative, not a lot of times, always, and manipulative, trying to control, even if it's underhandedly. What I mean by that is people will play like they cool with you, but underhandedly, they don't even like you. Well, they don't like themselves, actually. But they really don't want to see you make it. In fact, they're plotting on how to destroy you. I'm going to say try to. Because, in other words, they're trying to. Because in my experience, it don't work. Not with me. Because of who I am and how spiritually healthy I am and becoming and continuously growing. It's kind of like you can't even keep up with the stuff I cook up. I was in my flesh just a little bit. But for real though, when you on your spiritual health, they be trying to do, and you gone in the spirit. Because as long as you're feeding your spirit man what it needs and letting God lead you and doing everything He's telling you to do, what is that? But the point I was making is, when you're operating in that, you will never get spiritual wealth. I'm not saying you will never ever get it, but as long as you're operating in your flesh and in the lower vibrations, and then trying to stop others, hating on others, mad somebody else making it. In my experience and what I've known of, people just like that go backwards, especially when they're messing with God's chosen ones. That's like a really big no-no. So I'm just saying that to make the point to say that's operating in the flesh. Now, that's not the only way to operate in the flesh, because that's really low vibrational when you're doing it, operate from a place of ill intention. You want to be on the come up, like the ones that don't want to see someone get one up on them. Oh, I heard that today, listening to something, and that always just like, what? Get one up on you? I'm like, who thinks like that? But people do. Because it's a competition for some people. One up on you? Like, I can't just be living my life, going about my business, you making what I'm doing about you, being one up on you. You can't let me be one up on you. Insecurity at its finest. And again, I'm not saying knocking people with insecurity. I'm saying operating like that is not spiritually healthy. Therefore, you will never be spiritually wealthy as long as you're operating that way. Now, can a person like that turn it around? Absolutely yes. But the point that I'm making is, you can't be spiritually ill and think you're going to get spiritually wealthy. You have to get spiritually healthy to get spiritually wealthy. Now again, you can be out here in the world in the flesh and get it the world's way. But as I stated before, because I often do, first of all, I'm not talking to you. My methods don't work for you. But I encourage you to make a turnaround. And then they will. They can. But the point I'm making is, even if you succeed and gain some kind of whatever, either you lose it and or you're miserable with it. And oftentimes, thankfully, when this does happen to some people, they have to go back and do the spiritual work. Because the wealth or money, well, it could be wealth. It's just not spiritual wealth. See the difference? Spiritual wealth is from God, which comes from you having good spiritual health. Your spiritual health is your wealth. Your spiritual health is your spiritual wealth. Take note, take note, take note, take note. So do you want to be wealthy? Get spiritually healthy. Spiritually healthy creates spiritual wealthy. I'm going to leave that right there. Right there. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video. You can also connect with me on Facebook and Instagram at Latricia Booker and on Twitter at Kingdom Business 9. That is Kingdom Business with one S and the number 9. You can also connect with me on Likey at 1 Dr. Booker, the number 1 Dr. Booker. Y'all, that's my time. Be spiritually healthy. Be spiritually wealthy. I'm out. Peace.